This Saturday, October 26th at 6 p.m., the final hook of the 2024 season at the Hickory American Legion Fairgrounds. 10 classes of wheel spinning, coal rolling, ground-pounding excitement as these insane machines battle it out for the points championship. Presented by the Foothills Antique Power Association and the Hickory American Legion Fairgrounds. This Saturday, October 26th at 6 p.m., the final hook of the 2024 season at the Hickory American Legion Fairgrounds. 10 classes of wheel spinning, coal rolling, ground-pounding excitement as these insane machines battle it out for the points championship. Presented by the Foothills Antique Power Association and the Hickory American Legion Fairgrounds.
Welcome, everybody. This is going to be the final hook this weekend at the Hickory American Legion Fairgrounds. This Saturday, 6 p.m., going to be one heck of a show. Right now, we're showing 10 classes. We may have a little mixture and all that by what I'm being told. I know we've got 2 mods that are down here already, and it looks like we're going to get a couple of semis possibly. So it's going to be a mixed bag as far as the big classes here. But we got Light Pros, Super Farms, Super Mod 2s, Hot Farms, Pro Stock 4-wheel drives, Pro Street Diesels, Pro Modified 4s, Classic Mods, Open Streets, and we got the semis and mods. So it's going to be one heck of a show. Joining us tonight is going to be Casey Iverson and Logan Thomas, the sled operator that is sledless right now. So he has no sled. He's borrowing everybody else's, I guess. But Casey, I'm going to start off with you because, you know, all the internationals and all the John Deeres kind of get all the hype. But you and Brooke Grantham, I was trying to get Brooke on here also because you two guys are Fords.
Yes, sir.
And you're kind of, what is it like trying to compete against all the internationals and John Deeres out there that, seem to have an easier time getting parts and getting all the good stuff, I guess you can say?
It's been pretty rough. I mean, there's a lot of guys, international John Deere people, you ask them, they'll help you. But they got way more availability of people to build parts than the Ford people does. But I was told a long time ago that I'd never have a Ford to go to the front, and I've done it for several years in the classic mods. So I think we're going to try this, see if we can get this to work. So.
Well, you've had some good runs. You've had some kind of ups and downs. You've had some solid passes, and then you've had some blown head gaskets and some other stuff. In fact, while we're talking about it, I'm going to just show this run because you had a good run going here. This was Rich Hill a couple of years ago, and you said you did the same thing in Saluda. So I'm going to bring this up on the stage real quick. So what happened when that thing, because you saw the fluid come out, was that just a blown head gasket?
It blowed the top of the radiator apart, and then it blowed the side of the block, the side of the head gasket completely out of the back of the block up at the head. We brought it back home, stuck another head gasket on it, yanked all the freeze plugs out of it, water pump, you name it, and we pulled the following weekend at Hickory.
Yeah, you weren't playing around with that one at all, were you?
No, well, I mean, going from spark plugs to diesel, it's a big game changer in my book. We're learning as we go. So, I mean, this, like I said, a lot of good help from a lot of good people, but, you got to learn it as you do it. I want to be able to tear it apart and fix it myself, try stuff myself. But, we're learning, but we're slow at it.
So let's talk about this a little bit. So what is kind of the specs of what you're running? Is it an A pump, a P pump, or what kind of fuel system? What size is that motor, and what did that engine actually come out of, or is that the factory engine in that tractor?
That is think it's a TR 97 New Holland Combine engine, a 456 Genesis block.
Okay.
The 401 come in the 8,000 and 9,000. It's got a truck head on it and a P3000 P pump on it that Andy worked on, and just some stuff from Weimer's, and of course Brad's turbo and stuff like that.
Yeah, that, and I hate to bring up Andy, but Andy had a bad run on Sunday. He had a good pass starting out of the hole and just broke the block. I mean, the crank came out of it the whole 9 yards. I mean, it destroyed the bottom end of that tractor. But I got to give a shout out. He's definitely run good all season and just had bad luck on that pass. So hopefully he'll be able to get that back together. But looking at that run, and this is kind of funny here because that was 2022. Let's bring up 2023.
The leading distance held by Justin Sturman, Casey Allison on the Taylorsville Slugger.
So that run right there, from 1 year to the other, you were pretty happy with that run, weren't you, Casey?
Yeah, that was a top 5 run right there. I was really tickled. And then it seemed like after that, or after Hickory, it all went downhill this year with head gasket problems and now clutch problems. But hopefully we got that figured out. But just it's a big learning curve, right? A lot of people don't understand when you ain't never drove one of them or never worked on one of them. It's a lot of different things. Coming from an antique background to a V8 background to that. I mean, it's a big learning curve.
So I'm going to bring you in on this, Logan, since you hook all kinds of different vehicles. I mean, mini rods, modifieds, antiques. I mean, you were talking about one antique show. Y'all like basically pulled from like middle of the day to all night long. But can you tell when somebody leaves the hole that this is going to be a good run?
Oh yeah, you can tell in 50 feet who means business and who's just playing around.
So let's do a little comparison here. Let's bring up. I'm just going to bring up light pros, especially because Hunter Beasley seems to have that tractor figured out right now as far as the way he's hooking and the way that tractor's responded. So if you take Hunter Beasley and let's say Perry Walters, now that's 2 totally different driving styles. Normally, that's 2 totally different driving styles. Which one normally can you tell the quickest is going to have the best run? I mean, is Hunter's pretty, when he comes off the line, is it pretty lock, stock, and barrel? He's ready to haul butt, or,
Hunter usually leaves pretty hard. I mean, we pull on good tracks, not so good tracks, and lots of middle of the road tracks. If it's middle of the road or if it's good, Hunter's that tractor's just got the package and it'll just take off. Perry, he normally don't leave as hard unless Lauren drives it. Then you better break your neck. But no, usually when Perry drives smoking, he takes off pretty conservative. And like Albemarle, the first took, track was pretty dry, pretty hard. And he had just put whole shot tires on his, and it worked. I mean, he had more oomph, I guess, at 100 foot than anybody else did, and it just never let go.
Well, that's something that I've kind of noticed, and you can watch, and this goes with mini rods and everything else too. You can watch when they come out of the hole with the ground speed if they pick it up quick and all that. In fact, let me pull this up. I just thought about this run here. Let me pull this one up real quick because I know exactly where that one's at.
Well, while you're looking, I'll give you another good example. I went to the state fair over the weekend with the mini sled, not the big sled, and just hung around with everybody. And Saturday afternoon when the Hot Farm or Pro Farms got ready to run, of course, we was hanging around with Zachy Bissett and watching everybody else run. And he said something. He says, James always picks on him about riding the clutch out too far. And Zachy says in between camels there, he says, "You think I ought to leave with it hard?" I said, "Leave with it like you just slap mad at it." And it worked. He won. It was a little rough on his clutch. I think he just wound her up and sidestepped it, but it worked for that.
Well, I got to give a shout out to Beth McDonald on this. You know, that girl over this past season has really figured out how to drive that tractor. Because if you look, she won at Galot. What was it on Saturday night?
She won Friday night.
She won Friday night, and then she got second place against Zachy on at the state fair. That girl has really stepped it up and figured out how to play. I'm gonna say play the game, but she knew how to play the game. But that girl has really, really stepped it up. Let's see if it'll pull up there. Here it is. I'm looking for one particular run, and it was on a tricky track, and that's why I wanted to pull it up, because I want to talk about how the sled responds to certain tracks. Where are you at, you turd? You're in here. All right, here we go. That's where I need to be. And I think this is it right here. And that's that one, because that's when y'all reset it. You know which run I'm looking for. I'm looking for the one at Greenville, Tennessee. Yeah, here it is.
Tonight. Got a green light? Got a green light? And we good?
So the reason why I kind of brought up that pass there, and it's just dirt, because we even ran into that this weekend on Friday. And it's, Steven and them were working on that track and trying to get that track together. And it's just, sometimes the dirt just doesn't want to go together. And one thing I wanted to talk about was like, and this was, I believe, on Friday night. And y'all went in there, and I think Chad and the other guys went in there and kind of tore up the top section, scuffed it up, and the track came together. In fact, as the night went on, it actually got better as, the show went on. But when you're setting the sled up for, say, kind of a tricky track, like what was happening on Friday night and what kind of happened here on Friday in Greenville, Tennessee, what are some of the settings that you made? How do you change and adjust to that, I guess you can say?
Well, like there at Greenville, it's pretty red dirt, and it looked on top like it would just take everything you threw at it. And we got on it and figured out that it did not like big tires and big horsepower hardly at all. And Friday night at Raleigh was pretty dry, kind of the same way. And it'll fool you. You'll look at it and think, like, Greenville, here's an example of once we figured out it didn't like big power. It's like, okay, well, maybe we need to get the sled where it'll give them lots of drawbar, where they can try to hook to something, try to give them all the help we can to get them to get going. And actually had to back up and go the other way. When the reset, we had to take the nose weight out of the sled, make it light enough for them to get it moving so they could get some speed to get down there. Right. And then like Friday night at Raleigh, I wasn't running the big sled, but it was dry and it looked hard. And it's like, light pro, big power, big tire, going to have probably a hard time getting a hold of it. Well, they didn't. They hooked and took off. And James's test hook and rolled out of it at 379 feet. And it was just one of them cases where the tractor got lots of hold, but the sled didn't get a hold of anything. He just sliding along behind it like it's on a sheet of ice. So it'll fool you, thinking dry and hard or wet and soft. Most of the time you think the wetter and softer stuff, the big power and the big tires really like it. And, little tires just want to pile up a bunch of dirt in front of the sled. But sometimes it'll get you.
Well, and, we were talking about, in this weekend I was working with full pull. So I was at the starting line, I was at the finish line, and just talking to pullers in general. And it really surprised a lot of pullers. And this kind of goes back to you a little bit, Casey. When you go out to a track, what's the first thing you're looking for? How are you checking that track? What are you checking on that track to kind of figure out whether, hey, this is going to be great, or maybe I need to start changing some weight, changing some tire pressure? What do we need to do?
Basically, you look for consistency. If it's real soft, or you put your probe down into the ground, how deep it is. Like he said, moisture in the track, not much moisture in the track. A lot of times I just wing it, because if I sit there and overthink it and go backwards and forwards, I end up screwing myself worse. And just go with my first good instinct and leave it alone. My wife tells me that all the time. Is that what you thought first? And I said, yeah. She said, well, leave it.
Yeah.
Usually it works out, so she knows best.
I want to, Randy Tridd, want to give you a hello. He's watching this here tonight. Just want to give him a shout out. But one of the things that I've noticed too, I used to drive a tractor. Casey, do you have a notebook? So like when you go to a pool, do you have notes on that track of how that track's set up and what kind of works for that?
Yes, I keep it on my telephone. I just keep what I've put down, tire pressure, weight. Did it pull the front end off the ground? How far did it pull it off the ground?
Right.
The main thing that I've been using is the videos that y'all do.
Right.
That you can look back on, because that's a whole heck of a lot better than a notebook and trying to remember what it felt like. And you can look back on the video and see how it actually ran, versus, you can use both of it, but for the most part of it, I think I know I'm a right smart horsepower down than them other guys. So my setup's going to be different than what theirs is. I just think it up in my head, and if it works, I'm a hero. If it don't, I'm a zero.
I know that feeling. I used to go to Harold's, and that's the way it was at Harold's. I either had an excellent run or it was a bad one. It was one I didn't want to remember. I'm gonna bring up a hook, and if I'm seeing right, because I'm having to, it doesn't really. Me and my all the time in the world I have not put names with every one of these videos, but I'm gonna pull this one up.
One or the other.
So if y'all noticed on that run there, I don't know if he was scared, because a couple of those light pros, when the box came up, they would just kind of rear up and it kind of went up and down. So I don't know if Dewey, and I'd love to have Dewey right here right now just to ask him, what was he thinking on that? Was he thinking, hey, I need to throw, I want to keep the front end down so it doesn't get all crazy? Or, did he purposely plan on it just kind of running the ground, I guess you can say? That's, and we look at how adjustments are done and all kinds of stuff like that. And I go back to as a driver, what am I doing with my tire pressures? What am I doing with weights? And I know Dewey's had some problems this year, but that just shows you the difference on how setups between those two runs. And both of them never really picked the front end off the ground, but both of them have two totally different driving styles, which that's probably not a good one for this track. But, we've had a lot of tracks this year just because of the Mother Nature. Because if you think about it, just about every pool until this fall has been kind of threatened by rain. I mean, we looked at Wilson; he got rained out one whole night. Pine Tops got rained out one whole night. Danville got, they just canceled that because they got 4 or 5 inches of rain. A couple of days before. We've had rain threats all around us. It's just hard if you're a driver and it's going to rain. Casey, how are you going to set up for it? Where that threat of rain is. Are you going to be conservative, or are you going to step it up and just go with it anyway?
Just go with it anyway. I mean, I don't think I've got a conservative mindset to me, to be honest with you.
He never did when he had a modified. I can tell you that.
So you used to run a classic mod. Tell us a little bit about that, because I wasn't around when you were running the classic mod.
It was Steve Cummins. I don't know if y'all remember him. I know does. Yeah. He had that Massey Harris metal chassis or whatever. And me and Tom Coke went down there, and I bought the chassis, and he bought a turbo tractor he had, and we brought it home. And it was kind of like this with the hot farm. It took me about 2-3 years before we started doing good with it. And I think I called Logan one night, and they was going up to East Bend and putting on a pool up there, and asked them if we could come up there and run. And I think that's what started it all from there, with the classic mods pulling with Carolina. And,
yeah, that was just, there was a good group of them then. They were just basically pulling with the antique clubs and brush pulls here and there. And Casey called, and there was, I don't know, what, 7 or 8 of y'all that came to East Bend up there. And that was no joke. It was like, hey, wait a second. I wonder if these guys want a big boy pull with us. And we had to, well, I don't remember where we had the meeting at that fall, but they was, not as many of them showed up to the meeting as there was for a new class as ones of them that we had running at the time.
Well, you know, that's one class I've actually really enjoyed this year. You know, that whole group, and it's a pretty tight class. I mean, you look at the guys that said it. Let me pull. I'm gonna pull up something real quick just to show how tight it is. Give me just a second. Where was it at? It's got to be Ware Shoals, I think. Yep. Classic mods, Ware Shoals. You were looking here. Let me pull it up this way. There we go. It's hard to see here. Let me blow this up a little bit. So if you look at that right there, classic mods in your distances. I mean, they're 10 feet. There was only 4 there that weekend, but those 4, and normally there's 5 or 6 on average. But if you look at it, they're all within 10 feet every weekend. And Dustin Bostic, you know, he's got the new hot farm that I wanted to get him. That was another person I want to talk to tonight, just to kind of get his view on how it's different between the hot farm and the classic mod. We're going to get him on later this fall. He had some other stuff to do tonight, but you know, if you look at Dustin and Aubrey Palmer have been pretty much the top 2 all season long, but that's just a fun class to watch because they pick up the front end, they get a ton of ground speed. I mean, it's just, to me, it's just a fun class to watch. But another class that's got pretty good this year is the Pro Mod 4s. And by what I was told by Chad, there's going to be a ton going to be there this weekend at Hickory. So with the light pros, I heard there was a few light pros coming in. You're going to have at least 10 to 12 hot farms. Casey, you think you're going to have yours fixed by this weekend?
Yeah, like I say, worst case scenario, we put it back with that wear plate on the pressure plate side if we have to. Carl said that it would be here by Wednesday, no problem. I was smart and took an extra day off of work.
That sounds like pulling right there. Pullers, yeah. Well, you got to take off from work. I got to work on the tractor tonight. Yeah, that's what I got to do.
Where are you going on vacation? I said, we ain't. We pulling in Hickory. And they're like, 20 minutes from your house. I'm like, no, I got work to do.
Oh, man, I don't know how many times I called in sick when I was doing a lot of traveling with that stuff. I probably still should. The good thing is my boss actually owns a super stock, so he kind of gets the idea. Even though sometimes Matthew Carter's, let me show this up real quick. They're going to be at the Dixieland Speedway. We're going to be, in fact, I'm going to talk about this here just a little bit. Ken Whitley, I'm going to get Ken Whitley on tomorrow night. We're going to talk with him a little bit about that event that's happening. That is going to be, we're on the western side of the state this weekend. He's on the eastern side of the state, and that's really the only reason why I'm bringing him in on this. Plus, it's for a great cause because all proceeds, everything from there is going to go directly to the folks in the western part of the state.
Yeah, Ken called me a couple weeks ago and was talking about what he wanted to do down there for a benefit for everybody up in the mountains. And he asked about a sled, and I said, well, I can't help you that day because of Hickory and everything. He said, well, that's the only day I can really make it work with the racetrack. He says, well, what about your old man? I said, well, he's done at that point. I guess he could go. So I talked to Daddy about it, and more or less he's taking his sled down there basically for nothing. Like I said, the whole thing is a fundraiser to help everybody out up there in the mountains that can't help the situation they was dealt by Mother Nature. So them people need some help. So we're gonna see what we can do for them.
Yeah, the Jones pulling team said Carl sent our parts on Monday. We had them on Tuesday by 10 a.m. So hopefully you'll get those parts and you can get all that stuff put back together pretty quick. If you're joining us tonight, you're watching along. Just tell me where you're from, and how you got the link to see this, or how you saw about dropping the hook live here tonight. Joining us tonight, Casey Iverson, the Taylorsville Smoker, and Logan Thomas, the sledless sled operator for the next 6 months. So well, you said February, March, something like that. So
yeah, that'll be about right.
Bentley O'Berry.
Bentley's from Georgia, I believe.
Yeah, you got a lot of there's a lot of people popping in now, but yeah, if you're joining us tonight, let me know where you're calling from, where you're watching from, and
so ain't a radio show, Bert.
Yeah, I know. It's been a long weekend. I think I did 24,000 steps Saturday, or 25,000 steps. I had a couple of full pulls from the start line to the finish line. I'll just put it to you that way. And I'll tell you one thing. Jeff Hurt is a hard guy to trace down. Well, that dude, he runs. I mean, I can't catch up with that man.
Yeah, he's a grown man, but he's about like following a little 5 or 6 year old kid.
Hey, you ain't kidding. But the chaos of the NC State Fair, that's controlled chaos. Ain't no other way to put it.
It's
Shane,
organized chaos. You got to give it that.
I mean, that's a hard show to put on. Out of Kannapolis, you gonna join us this weekend, Shane?
I've been seeing on Facebook, Shane's he's been doing a lot, even with the Lustics in Pennsylvania. I've seen Lustics brought down like 2 trailer loads of stuff for disaster relief. I don't know how Shane got all that put together, but there's been a lot of stuff going on. And just for a second, I'm gonna say, right after Helene come through, I'm kind of like Casey. I don't know. We live over here towards Yadkinville, and we never even lost power that day. You see the joke of when somebody has a storm about the plastic yard chair that blowed over in the yard, say we will rebuild. It's funny, but at the same, that's about what had happened here at the house. Just some limbs out of some trees, nothing bad. But I had pullers from New York, Pennsylvania, Indiana, all out in the Midwest. I had phone calls, Snapchat messages. They say, "You good from the storm?" Like, yeah, we're good, but everything you see on Facebook and the news from up in the mountains, like, that's no joke. Them people got dealt a raw deal up there.
Yeah, and that's something else I want to mention too while we're talking about Leon Nixon Catering. I'll get that information and post that again, and maybe we need to take up a kind of what like they did at the State Fair this weekend. We'll get a jar, we'll collect money, and that money will go directly to Leon Nixon. He's been feeding those folks since basically a couple of days after the storm hit. As soon as he could get up there, I think they raised $3,000 this weekend, somewhere along in there for that. I think that's a great cause because I noticed he's cooking. I think in the first week he cooked around 1,500 meals. Their whole crew, they've been up there pretty much since the word go. Rusty's asking this: what sled do we get to pull this weekend since you sold the red one?
Darth Vader, you get the gray one.
So, Rusty, you can't go 425 feet like you did in.
I don't know. He might. That thing's so much different from the red sled. I'll be so far out in left field with it. I probably won't know what to do. So,
just make sure that one out.
Sled malfunction. Hit the button. I don't know what happened.
Yeah.
You beat
Zach. I don't know.
You
go too far at Hickory, you drop off that big hill down there at the end.
Yeah, you might want to back off a little bit when you get over it. Once you get to the crest, just stop.
Yeah.
But yeah, Rusty, the only guy that's ever pulled 400. That's the only. Well, I ain't gonna say that's the only time I've ever heard Logan cuss, but That's back before we have what we now. I can look up distances on the phone and all that kind of stuff. And so I had the radio in my pocket, and I'm got my headset on, and I'm talking whatever. And Logan's yelling so hard because he's so mad and frustrated at that point. He's yelling through the headset or through the headsets that they have. He's yelling through that so loud it's picking up inside my microphone out in the public. So I had to put him down for a while until he calmed down that night. But needless to say, Rusty goes, I'd love to take Logan for a long ride again. You might this weekend. He said you never know. But yeah, I'm telling you, that was a bad weekend. But it was I ain't gonna say it was a bad weekend. It was a good weekend, but it was challenging for Logan. Needless to say. While we got this up, let me pull up points real quick. And I have not updated from Galot, and it was confirmed if you ran in Hot Farms, Pro Street, and what was the other class?
Mini rods.
Mini rods. You'll get points added onto your thing. In fact, we didn't have any mini rods that add to it because none of the mini rods there were members.
Yeah, they were.
That's right. That's right. Cutshaw was there. Never mind. Brain fart. It's been a long weekend, man. But talking about some of the points here, just want to bring this up. Mike Ward has won the points. You might as well say Jimmy Johnson has won the points. Classic mods, as close as that is, that's still winnable. Light pros, not unless something happens to Perry. He's going to get that championship. Zachy, kind of the same way there if you look at it, because he didn't go down, and these aren't 100% updated. These are through Mooresville. But he's pretty much, not unless he just really bombs out, which Darren picked up his first ever win. I forgot to mention that.
Yeah.
Saturday night at Galot Motorsports Park.
Yeah, we had 2 first-time winners at Galot. Beth won Friday night, and Darren won Saturday night. Neither one of them had ever won before.
Yeah. So Jeremy Wayne, not unless something crazy happens, with the way everything ran at Galot. Like I said, I hadn't updated those. He's going to be pretty tough to beat. And all that's is from Tim Cutshaw in Greenville, Tennessee on Saturday night, where he couldn't make a full pass.
Yeah.
I mean, that's all it was. Glenn Hedrick, he's in the lead in the Pro Mod 4s. Let's go to where's Pro Street? Did I not put? I didn't. When I updated, I didn't add it, did I? Oh, there it is. Okay. So Pro Mod 4s and Pro Stocks. That one's getting kind of tight. And there was a question about in the Pro Stock 4-wheel drive class about Glenn Hedrick going out of bounds in Saluda. Well, when you go out of bounds, that is not a disqualification. It just means that you're going to take last place, or according if you have multiple disqualifications, it goes by distance. But he just gets last place points. So he's not like disqualified from competition. So that's where there was a little bit of confusion. I did pull that up in the book to verify that.
Yeah, and out of bounds is just a last place points, last place money kind of thing.
Yeah, so that's why the points are still so tight between Glenn and Tony.
Go back up to your Pro Mod 4-wheel drives there for a second.
Okay.
Thinking, well, that's only 4 points apart. That's only 2 positions.
Yeah, that's it. And so that's how, and this weekend with this track, and if, that's one thing we do over here at Carolina. So if we get a bunch of people coming from the outside, we try not to interfere with those points. So if there is, okay, see, Jones is saying that they were told they were supposed to get points for Galot. I'll call Chad on that. We'll verify that. And we'll double check on that just to make sure. But if you look at that right there, yeah, 2 spots. And if you end up having 4 or 5 trucks, what we'll do if there's trucks in between the 2, if they're not members, we don't count those trucks in between. So still, if you get, we got 5 trucks on the points. And as far as I know, all 5 of those trucks are going to be there. So that means, that can easily be a first to last if he goes out of bounds. And there he goes. he's lost the points. So that's how quick it can change around. Tim Cutshaw obviously has won the points in the mini rods, but it's still pretty tight. We've got a few that are pretty much sealed off. Nobody gonna catch Jimmy Johnson because he's been basically the only two-wheel drive we've had most of the season. Unfortunately, hopefully next season will be a little bit better. But that's just giving you a little bit of rundown on that. And the distances are all up. Media, folks, I apologize. I have not had time to get all that done this year. It's just been crazy is not the word. If you got the opportunity, go to shopangryduck.com if you want to get some merchandise. I am going to be changing the logo just a smidge this year, this winter, to make it where it shows up on a lot of the stuff a little bit better with a little bit of outline. But you can get hoodies, you can get shirts, you can get hats, you can get it all. I've got a few shirts. My wife's got some shirts. I think some other people have bought them. But great product. I wore it all season. So go to Shop Angry Duck. They can get you set up on that merchandise. So, but that's just giving you a rundown. Don't forget, folks, this weekend, October 26th, 6 p.m., this is going to be the final event for the Carolina Truck and Tractor Pullers. And we're going to have a special guest. Mr. Jonathan Mears is going to join us Saturday afternoon. We're going to go live. Jonathan Mears is going to be there. We're going to grab some other pullers. I'm going to try to get Don Dean up there. That's one guy that we better have an hour or an hour and a half to talk to because he will give you all kinds of information, needless to say. And I can tell you this much, folks, if the world goes to hell in a handbasket, that's one guy I want to live next to because he can fix about anything. So he's got more rules in the rule book than anybody else, I guarantee you, especially when it goes to a turbine. But anyway, what's happening, Dad? It's good to see you last weekend. I'm glad you're out and about again. And Mike, there's Mike. He's like, I went 385 feet in Mountain City. Ain't that good enough? No, you didn't go past 400. That ain't good enough. Rusty still got that one down. But folks, yeah, just giving you a heads up. This is what it's going to be this weekend. And I think the first person, Randy Tritt, if you're still watching, message me. You were the first person that I don't think you're with a puller, especially considering that you're saying you used to do mud bogs back in 2014 and 15. Y'all gonna be giving away some tickets, right, Casey?
Yes, sir. Two tickets.
Yep. So if Randy is still watching, tag me in it because I don't have another way to contact you. That way we can get in touch with you and get you those tickets. And Mike, I can't give you no tickets, man. Or Jones pulling team, y'all going to be, or Rusty, I can't give y'all tickets. So but anyway, y'all got any last words for the weekend, Casey? I've been running my mouth for the last 20 minutes. Feels like.
Well, I just want to give a shout out first and foremost to the man upstairs for letting me be able to do this and have fun. But these three girls that comes with me every weekend that don't never get no credit, I probably fuss at them more than what they deserve. I know a whole lot. But they come with me every pool. They help me every pool. They help me wash, clean up, tools, whatever. So Ada, Grace, and Callie, thank y'all for this year. I love you. Y'all mean the world to me. Letting us do as a family, which is I have to put up with them too, the young and antique puller. But I wouldn't do it if I couldn't do it without them. So that's my spiel. So.
How about yours, Logan? What's on your mind?
Everybody, like Casey said, man upstairs lets us be able to do this. And my wife, she's back here, she said she was going to take a shower while I done this. And for what she puts up with, especially this summer, I took off. Well, I left from Saluda that Sunday and took off. I had to be in Goshen, Indiana on Wednesday, so I just went straight up there. And of course, she's been carrying little Logan the whole time, and I didn't get to come back home till the last week of August or so for just a couple days, and turned around and went right back for about 2 more weeks. So, I mean, about that whole first trimester or so, I really wasn't here. So the reason I still got, this part attached above my shoulders, I guess, is thanks to her. I don't know. And everybody kept. I wished I'd have had $1 for down there at Galata the weekend. $1 for every time everybody asks, "Is you gonna cry when the old red sled leaves?" I said, "No. People don't get upset when they trade and get new vehicles. Like I'm gonna kick it in the back bumper and wave at it and tell it to go on." This has been a year. I mean, I've done this 12 years now, and I don't know this year where the black cloud was, but this was a Murphy's Law year. If it could go wrong, it did go wrong. I mean, I bounced off of walls for years before and hung one this year and almost tore the whole back axle out from under the sled. So, send it on. I hope the guys in California enjoy it, but I'm ready for a new one.
Well, I'll put it to you this way, and I kind of agree with you on that, Logan. It's been a trying year, I'll say, to say the least. I've enjoyed it. I've got a lot of new opportunities I've been able to take care of. But like you go back to it, my wife and my daughter, because I can tell you this, and our wives talk to each other quite a bit, Logan, and they'll talk about, well, he's been working on the computer 4 nights this week, and he's got a tractor pull on the 5th night and the 6th night. It's kind of like it's a lot of work, and our wives and our families kind of support us in that. We don't never really give them all the. I'm going to add something to you here in a second, but our wives and stuff really have to deal with a lot during the season. And we enjoy it. I enjoy the heck of it. I love announcing. I love the video part of it. I love the social media part of it. I love the sport. I don't care what club it is. I don't care if it's antique pulling. I don't care what it is. If it's something that can try to pull 300 feet, let's pull it 300 feet and let's do something crazy with it. And the way I look at it, the wilder and stupider it is, the better show it puts on. So let's go for it.
Well, back in April, just right over here at Yadkinville, it was Charles Neal's Glory Day show, and I actually took one of the tractors here from the farm to go use as a pullback tractor for the antique sled. And look around, and there was Casey and all the little Fords and the girls pulling antiques, and Casey had brought the hot farm to make a test pass. So, I mean, everywhere you go, there's people you'd have never met because of stuff like this.
Okay, I'm looking for a video, so hang tight with me just a second because I was trying to find this, and I meant to download it yesterday, and of course my brain does not. Oh, here it is. There she goes. So let's add this to the screen, and let's go big with it. And that was from your mama.
Yeah, she stood. I didn't even notice it till I think we got ready to take off. I turned around and looked at something. Somebody moved, and I saw her standing there with her phone. That was the last pass Saturday night at Benson with it.
Yep. So off into the sunset in California, here we come. So I know you're excited about that coming up. But Chad said, here we go. He's finally getting that combine cab dream.
Yeah. Richard threatened to put the combine cab on mine a few years ago, and I always hated those things because the door opens backwards and you got that little bitty back window. But they still all be the same now, I guess.
Okay, one last question. We're going to wrap this up. Logan, are you going to have blacked out rims on yours?
Not if I can help it, no.
That's all I've heard. We were at Galot, and everybody was kind of picking on you. You gonna get the blacked out rims? You're gonna get, everything gonna be blacked out on it? He goes, hell no, I'm not getting that mess on there. We're gonna have some chrome on that thing. But you never know. You might like it. It might grow on you this weekend. You're gonna have Darth Vader. I mean, you might like it.
Yeah.
Well, guys, we're going to wrap things up. I got some more stuff I got to prep for tomorrow, and we got a lot of pulling action coming your way this weekend, a ton of action. So if you get the opportunity, if you're within an hour or so of Hickory, go there, check it out. It's going to be it's a great venue, plenty of food, plenty of parking. There's going to be plenty of vehicles, I promise you that. It's just a great atmosphere. The crowd gets into it, and it's just, man, it's just a great venue for it. This weekend, as far as on the Carolina side, I know Carolina has already donated some stuff to all the stuff that's happened in the western part of North Carolina. But I think let's go ahead and get a jar out and let's get some more money and let's send it on and get it out there because they need all they can get. So,
Bert, you forgot one thing last year at the banquet. You got to remember Hickory's pull and the Foothills Power Association. That was the 2023 pull of the year last year for Carolina Poll.
It was, man. I'm telling you, if you go back and if you go on the YouTube page, go to the YouTube page and just watch that each class section of that. Every class was amazing, and the mods to me last year. I'm a mod guy because I used to drive one, so I love mods. And, of course, Don was there and, Scott Tedder. And, anytime you have multiple engines out there and they fire up, it don't matter if it's a turbine or a blower motor. It's just, pounding the ground. I love every bit of it. So, folks, we're going to wrap it up. Pull of the year from last 2023. Maybe to be pull of the year 2024. We're going to wait and find out. You got to be there, Hickory American Legion Fairgrounds. It's going to be one heck of a show. Logan's going to be driving Darth Vader, and Casey's going to be on a blue Ford. In fact, you're going to be the only one because Brooks is actually going to be doing a pull up north, a benefit pull up north. So he's going to be up there this weekend, and he's dropping his tractor off to have a little work done to it. So we're going to see how that works out for next season.
Right.
So he's going to try to do it all in one whirlwind trip. So tons of pulling action. There ain't going to be no one or two vehicles in a class. It's going to be, you're going to have some of the best four-wheel drives in the nation. Hot Farms, Zachy Bissett has been on a tear, but let me tell you, the Sturdivants, White Pickler, that's going to be one to watch because if White had two good runs last weekend and if the McDonald's show up, that's going to really throw another kink in it. So, we're going to –
Don't forget Dustin.
Yeah, don't forget Dustin.
Dustin's going to be – so, this is – Hot Farms is going to be a good show. Hot Farms have been the show to watch all year long because it's been kind of back and forth. But Super Farms depends on – I'm not sure if the McDonald's are coming. I might text Marvin here in a minute, find out if those guys are coming up. If those guys come up, that's going to throw a kink in the Super Farms. And Russell might have to pay a little extra money this year to get in a higher spot with Brad Gautier. So, it's going to be a fun show, folks. I know Alan Brown's coming, and it ain't going to be with the C-Cab. It's going to be with the Sweet Thing because he did more than a Waffle House at the State Fair.
He yard sailed that baby Friday night.
Good Lord. I've never seen a supercharger come off that hard. And, it just unfortunately, it tore that truck up. As beautiful as that truck is. But you know what? He said, I'm going to pull. Him and Randy drove home. They put it back together, went back and pulled Saturday night and had a great pass on the Sweet Thing. So with Jimmy Johnson got the points wrapped up in that class. So you're going to have two oldie but goodies pulling against each other. So it's going to be a great weekend of pulling. So we're going to wrap things up. I'm going to shut my mouth. We'll see y'all this weekend, Casey and Logan. And I appreciate you joining us. And I'm going to pull y'all off the stage. Not a bad run. And pull all that mess off the stage. See how much crap I got up here? We're going to add this to it.
This Saturday, October 26th at 6 p.m., the final hook of the 2024 season at the Hickory American Legion Fairgrounds. 10 classes of wheel spinning, coal rolling, ground-pounding excitement as these insane machines battle it out for the points championship. Presented by the Foothills Antique Power Association and the Hickory American Legion Fairgrounds. This Saturday, October 26th at 6 p.m., the final hook of the 2024 season at the Hickory American Legion Fairgrounds. 10 classes of wheel spinning, coal rolling, ground-pounding excitement as these insane machines battle it out for the points championship. Presented by the Foothills Antique Power Association and the Hickory American Legion Fairgrounds.